Welcome to SEO conspiracy.com.
Wow.
Was
But
that better on the voice modulation for you?
I think it's still like a very groovy, slow, Zen, Buddha-esque type of rhythm. But I liked at the end when, obviously the .com inspires you a lot. When
Well,
it,
you know how close it is to other words. So,
well, you are the specialist of the G-Spot SEO.
absolutely.
Talking about G-Spot, it seems that Google G-Spot is broken.
Yeah, it does. Poor
It's
thing.
it's the myth that we hear these days. Myth or not myth, I don't know. We'll try to explore and see a little bit of light. No, not light. Try to sort out the mess in between what's really broken and what's just people talking nonsense.
Yeah, so Google did actually break itself in a sense. Last year, at the end of the year, it did lose a significant proportion of usable, valuable results. So we're not talking about the spam garbage that everybody puts in, and me included, but actually valuable search result pages. So perhaps you were searching for the best glasses for bifocals. These are not bifocals. But let's say you were looking for the best glasses or best glasses frames for bifocals. You would find that expected results were missing. So certain pages were actually not in the index and not able to be returned, and they were valuable. And Google said, I looked this up. Google said that there was a certain percentage above 1. And now, of course, I can't find it. But there was a significant percentage of pages that were gone from the index. They were not there anymore. They were not being spidered, and you could not add them because Google removed the submit button from Google Search Console. So it was a full-on break. Like, it was well broken. And I think it took them a few weeks before they got everything fully back, 3 or 4 weeks before everything was fully back. Now, most of it, like over 60%, was back. So they were only broken for about a week. But still, it was a big amount of being broken. And yes, Google was broken then. It's been broken before then. There was 2 bugs before that point. And Google will break again because they're getting to the point where they're so big and they're having to work with so much data. There are going to be bugs that are in the system that are only exposed through size. You know, it's like discovering an error in a math chip. My little sister's an engineer. She's a chemical engineer. She works in the nuclear industry. They need to be, 25 decimal places exact type thing. And she found one of her computers had a chip flaw. There was actually a flaw in the logic chip for math at a certain precision point. So at a certain precision point, the chip itself had a math error. And you could no longer do the calculations because it was broken.
Of course.
And so that was a physical limitation of the computer. There are other physical limitations of computers that are not Cray, but we know from building Cray computers that there are physical limitations to computing. And Google's broken because it's pushing past these limitations. And engineers are trying to work around them. But Google's broken because it can't hold all of the internet any longer.
That's okay. The internet is too big and it's going too fast for any search engine to follow the speed and velocity of
that's because people like me put garbage in it.
Well, hold on, because I think I got a solution. And in my opinion, that's also why the mobile first index got delayed. It was supposed to come out in the fall and they delayed it until spring because they wanted a solution that I'm about to disclose to be ready first. But the other side of, okay, you spoke about the fact that it's hard to crawl the internet because it's too big and
Not just crawl it, store it, and then
store it.
access that storage.
But the other problem with Google is the technology. Phase one, or part one, it was built in 1995, and they are building layers
scale of
upon
what- yeah.
layers with thousands of engineers, dozens of computer
Well, don't forget,
languages.
Hummingbird, they did rebuild from scratch because there were so many errors. That like Hummingbird was when we were getting Australian results in the UK. And then Hummingbird came out and fixed that. But then we haven't had another Hummingbird since then.
They are not. I know when an algorithm is ready when they tell the investors. They just told the investors about BERT. They didn't take it. They didn't talk about Hummingbird yet. They told BERT, yeah, we got BERT. It's working. Like 3 years after they put it out. It was the same when they say, I read every quarterly report. And it's funny because it was maybe 3 years after Panda that they announced, yeah, we got rid of all the content farms. So when they tell the investors, they are pretty sure that it's... but that was not my point. My point was, IMO, they got into machine learning too early. It's a fact that today Google is, as far as quality, it decreased. It's not as good as it used to be before they went the AI route, even if I don't like this term. And in my opinion, the technology, now it's ready. Like now they can do some good stuff, but they will need to break even more Google to fix it.
Yeah.
I think we spoke about the new boss at Google together, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I like his style, Pragbaka Raghavan. I like what he does because he's not the kind of just moving a little bit the needle. He's like, no, it's just
he's really looking to push it. Which is why I think we're reaching these physical limitations of technology, and that's not what Google is saying is happening, but that's the perception that they're creating. Is that it's not their fault. They haven't broken something. The size of what they're having to deal with comes with inherent limitations because math and physics, these are immutable. Physics is not immutable. Maybe, I don't know, maybe when we get to a certain point in our discovery and analysis of the universe, we'll realize that E doesn't equal MC squared. But at the moment, while the working of our physics is based on that, there's only so much you can do with a database that big.
And cleaning up a database, and you can't like even if Hummingbird cleaned up some stuff, even if machine learning actually helped, they saved more energy with machine learning than with windmills. Okay, by optimizing the algorithm, they saved a lot more energy than just solar panels and windmills. However, they have big problems of that they are trying to solve for the past 5 years. We talked about it, and it's coming. It's gonna discover your page, it's gonna crawl your page, and it's gonna decide, is it crappy, is it not crappy enough to index or not? And because you know perfectly that in your entire career, not once you weren't able to feed Google something.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Not once.
Though I think that the methodology behind this, the AI learning whether or not things are any good, still has to be done carefully, because mom and pop shops are still crap, you know? Like, I know Wix has hired, what, 6 people from around the SEO community to try to make themselves not as shit as they already are. But, you know, that's where people are going, and it's putting out stuff that's not necessarily optimal, like, I don't know, a pie shop or a cookie shop, a place doing delivered ice cream or delivered cookies. It's
That's what I
crap,
say.
but that's someone's livelihood, and if Google makes the decision that that's not worth indexing, they're in big trouble, and they're still fighting this whole
That,
lawsuit in the
that
US.
that's the big issue. It's not, and I'm being nice by saying that 90% of the web is crap. So they have to tweak like the level of, okay, they're
Yeah,
catching
constantly.
they're catching 25 million spam indexing pages and 90
Yeah,
billion URL. But even
yeah,
that, instead, even if you stay on those, because we spoke about it. Okay, some guys never tweaked their tools since 2004. It's not possible.
yes,
The way
yeah,
they do it. So if just that, those 25 billion pages and 90 billion links, that are very basic spammy type of stuff.
yeah,
If you don't index them, that's already a lot of pages and links that you can save off. But you're right. The problem is, in my opinion, again, that was the last update. That's what they did, and it backfired, and that's why they had to reverse it, and that's why I don't understand why they have so much trouble tweaking the machine learning.
yeah. Well, I mean, anybody who's worked with models knows how difficult it is to teach a model to do what you want it to do, let alone to get it to then go out and do new things. So I really admire what those data scientists and the mathematicians and the experts at Google are doing. But there is a physical limitation to the technology that we have right now. And kudos to them for pushing the limits and for, you know, creatively implementing cray technology, I'm sure, and possibly pushing the limits of technology. Like, how quick can you get the signals through? Like, how fast can you do this calculation? They're pushing the limits where they're starting to look at coming to the edge of quantum computing, just out of needing to do this for like search results.
I thought they quit the quantum thing and they went another route.
Probably.
I think they found something different. It's pretty recent. I just saw the headline, so I can't don't take it for granted. But
it's difficult. Quantum computing is miles off. We're not close. We are so far away. But they are pushing computing so far, so hard. I mean, from stepping aside from the SEO industry, if I was a physicist or if I was an engineer, being working in Google and working on that problem would be a joy. Absolutely. Because it is a complex mathematical problem and it is not easy to fix. It would be so much fun. It would be an absolute pleasure to engage in that. So SEO aside, just figuring out the physics of it would be amazing.
It's a lot of frustration, my dear. Less than 1% goes into production of what you invent in the lab. So
yeah, absolutely. It is frustrating, but you'd still be working on a problem that very few other companies would even need to think about, let alone touch.
If I had to pick, I would go into the Google Ads team, because they have the best engineers. They have unlimited budgets. They have to find solutions very quickly. They have to be very efficient. In search, they proved us, since how many months did they leave us with between two Penguin refresh, like 18 months or something like that?
18 months between two Penguin refreshes. Yeah, 18.
Launching a core update at the beginning of a pandemic, or like last Christmas also, just that's
And also, it was last year, just before Christmas, we lost the submit button and we lost part of the index, and we had 2 other bugs. So yeah, they
if
don't care about it, but, it's the physics. The physics that they're butting up against and the mathematical problems. And I mean, if anyone was gonna disprove E equals MC squared, it's gonna be Google, just from the point of view of having to deal with all the
True.
crap in its
True.
index.
True. I
So,
think
ads or SEO aside, putting that aside and just looking at the physics, absolutely amazing. That would be fun. But yes, Google is broken, but Google's broken because it is a victim of its own success.
if they didn't have, I love this guy, Prabhakar Raghavan, who is now he's senior VP of Alphabet and heading ads assistant and search and geo whatever. He's the right guy for the job. If they didn't have him, on top of the pyramid, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, they don't care about the search engine. It was a university project for them. Like how can you even mentally relate to that? PageRank, really? But what's funny is that it's the revenge of Sergey Brin. Bill Swalski pointed out to me that back in the days, at the same time, so Larry Page wrote the PageRank paper, and Sergey Brin wrote something different, which was more about entity relationships. So it's like first it was Larry's turn, and now it's Sergey's turn in as far as the direction of the search engine goes. But at the end of the day, I think they don't care because they got so much money. They have only one thing to care about: death. They have only one okay. Larry Page has a very rare disease. His left vocal cord doesn't work. And Sergey Brin has Alzheimer, I think, in the family. And it's coming up to him quickly. So when you are at that level with that amount of money, Google, the search engine that you built in the 90s, like really?
Well, you've got your money. So, but the machine itself, so to speak, wants to keep going with good results in order to feed the money machine, which is Google Ads. So they actually still have to have decent organic in order to give you the monetization through ads. So it is in their interest of fixing it. I mean, it was YouTube, though, that came up with Sybil, which is now being used in ads. So the algorithm, the machine learning that now runs pretty much everybody's ad account, comes from the suggested videos in YouTube.
It's true. But you have a lot of hidden, for example, it costs, I don't want to make a mistake, so I'm not going to say how much, but I think it's twice. It's a lot more costly to display ads on a mobile phone than on a computer. So you got those kind of problems also. But anyway, regardless, Google will keep on being broken, or there will be this permanent core update that will delight Barry Schwartz because he can post
he
about
can
it.
write about it. And the rest of us can all go, ooh, yeah, were you hit? No. Oh, well, a friend of a friend down in Panama says that one of her clients' brothers was actually hit in the last core update. Yeah, but they will continue doing core updates, and Sybil will continue getting better. But the thing that is the most exciting for me, and it has nothing to do with SEO whatsoever, is the physics behind serving search results. And that is why Google's broken, and that is why Google won't be fixed for a while. But I really, really hope one of the things that they will do is start pushing the limits of computing and looking more into not just like quantum computing and Crays and things like that, but other types of storage, data storage, which I know they are because I've seen it at Google Cloud. But like, imagine what somebody like Google could come up with to solve the problem of a mass of data from the internet in order to maintain quality results, so they sell ads, right? Think about the types of computing and storage devices that they could invent simply to deal with the fact that they're broken.
I'll try to find the link for you. But so far, I remember listening to one of those of the search podcast, and the guy Gary H. Yes. Was it's still pretty basic. It was explaining, okay, here you go. If a piece of content is asked often on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's in a different index, and this is part of what they've had to do.
No. It was not about the main index.
It was the database storage, and he said that you will get onto a faster core, basically.
No,
type thing. No, because it's returned more frequently.
No, it's about the hosting. The fastest way to deliver is if the cache is on the RAM.
Yes.
So that's where they store those results that are with a high demand on the RAM.
Sort of. It's a slightly different.
And then they have
that's
the cache
a good way of explaining it.
The SSD. So it was not about the main index and supplemental. It was just about the way.
No. I don't mean the main index and supplemental. I mean physics has dictated that they actually have to disperse the databases. So the live database, the live search results database, is then further segmented because it has to be. If lots of people are searching for look at what Marissa Myers did with Search Suggest, right? Caffeine, the caffeine update. The caffeine update is the basis for what gets segmented into fast and what gets segmented into slow. Because if 100,000 people a day, or I'm making this up, look for a chocolate chip cookie recipe, the fuck are you doing putting it in a difficult to reach physics limitation index? Physics, like this is the thing. I don't think that the next, the next frontier of SEO is going to be physics. But if you're not thinking about the physics of what has to go on at Google, then you're not seeing the whole picture. And you're not going to fail, but you're not going to be hugely successful. It's a shame that this is a Mythbuster, because I would tell you all about something that I just saw, and it's super fun, and it really illustrates the difference between you and I and the people listening to this podcast and other people. But let's just say the people listening to this podcast, you're ahead of the game already, my friend.
What I like
in more
is
ways than one.
Every time that there is this core update, every time there is an official announcement, it consolidates my vision. So I'm very happy with that. The problem there is I see way too many algorithm chasers today.
Yeah.
It's not 2005 anymore. It was fun to chase the algorithm in 2005.
Because you could.
It's not possible anymore. You will lose if
every time.
If you I know what you want, guys. You want that trick. You want to find this easy thing.
that simple trick.
Yeah.
But then you're not going to talk about it at a conference or in a book, are you? We're not stupid. Those of us who have tricks, we don't talk about the real tricks.
Well, you could have tricks like, for example, the position 0.
Yeah.
Right. So everybody got on it. Okay, I'm gonna invest that. Blah blah. My homage to Bill Swalski was explaining how the former position 0 got me to make a couple of millions, but that was because the timing was right. It was about poker. Everybody was looking for information about how to play poker,
exactly,
and so on. But what's happening is you're going to do everything you can. Same with this passages indexing thing that's coming up.
Yeah. Well, it's out in the States.
It's out in the States, and if it's not at the right place at the right time, you will lose because
Yep.
it's giving out an answer
Yep.
and there's no more need to click.
Although a lot of people do click, even though it's a passage, because don't forget, it's not always the answer that you're looking for. If you want to know the best toy for, okay, my nephew is, I think he's 10 or 11, let's say 11. If I want to know the best toy for an 11-year-old boy and my niece just turned 6, or the best toy for a 6-year-old girl, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. They're in Canada. So I'm going to go to Google and I'm going to type that in, but a passage doesn't help me because I want to go to like, Good Housekeeping or Toys R Us or Wicked Uncle, which is a toy store in the UK, although need to open up in Canada so I can just use them. But like Toys R Us obviously dead.
That's just what I was thinking.
And Good Housekeeping is a magazine, but like Wicked Uncle is one that has a toy store in the UK that has like a page of the best toys for a 6-year-old girl. Thank God, because they're somewhere else. I don't live with them. They're my niece and nephew. So I don't want the passage result though. I want to know the list. It won't stop the click, but it'll slow it down.
You are saying exactly the same thing than me. If it's the right place, the right time, if it's the right content, the right user intent, if everything clicks, it's gonna work.
Exactly.
If you are trying too hard, if it's not the right place, for example, first divide what you do for selling door to door. Those are certain keywords. Those are certain ways to make business, door-to-door selling. And what do you do for branding?
Yeah.
Because if you start by doing this split, passages indexing and these type of things can be very useful for the branding part. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you confuse both, then you are expecting something, and it's not going to work. Again, I'm not saying you can't sell with passages, indexing, discover, or whatever.
It will reduce the clicks.
I made
but
millions,
it won't get rid of them.
I made millions back in 2006. It was August 22nd, 2006, if I remember correctly, and August 23rd. The next day I applied it and I killed it. And the problem is, after a little while, all those authority websites like basically just Wikipedia is going to take your spot because you are not legit
Although
enough.
Wikipedia is disappearing these days. It's not as prevalent as it used to be. Although with the new passages, it would be interesting to see how Wikipedia then picks back up from its lowered position. Because Wikipedia, even on an informational query, I'm not always seeing it as number one.
You know my game of the mystery word. Wikipedia plays very well the game of the mystery word. So for those who don't know, we'll conclude on this pro tip. Old school SEO in 1872, or she started a little later. I was wrong. It's 1902, not 1872. She started SEO. It was just about repeating the keyword. You had to understand. For example, Jaguar, okay? You wanted to rank on Jaguar, the car, you just blasted Jaguar, the keyword density.
If you want a Jaguar car, Jaguars are very good cars for Jaguar lovers, but non-Jaguar lovers also love Jaguar cars too. Jaguar cars have been around.
And you had this master spin that would allow you to have the same text and just changing Jaguar to a BMW to Volkswagen to Audi and so on. That was before. Now, today, you must be able to play the mystery word game, which is simply make me guess the topic, make me guess that keyword without using it. It's like a TV show game.
Absolutely.
All over the world, they have those TV shows, those Pictionary or whatever it is, and that's it. Passages indexing is exactly that. The subtopics is exactly that, and that's not me or Judith saying it. It's Prabhakar Raghavan in his official keynote, Search 2020 and beyond. He's saying, this is how you got to do it. So, Google
Gotta
is
take note, guys.
Google is broken. I'm sorry if you are, because there's also the one last thing is the filters. Okay, imagine layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of algorithms, different languages, It's a mess, and sometimes your website is just stuck in between those layers.
True.
And it's like a Bermuda Triangle, and you will see it doesn't make sense. You are gone past like page 100, and you will come back, or you go up and down. There's different effects, but the Bermuda Triangle is real. It's called the bug. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And we're seeing more and more bugs because they're reaching the limits of what they can do. And it's physics. And there is nothing that an SEO can do about it, because an SEO is not a physicist. And there is nothing we can do against it. So yeah, Google's broken. And it's going to be broken for a long time until they violate the laws of physics or find a better solution.
Or no, they can't, because they want more. They always want more.
They're already tiering things.
But you have only, I think, like 50,000 keywords that represent what people really need on a daily basis. That's not
well. At least that makes it easier for them.
But anyway, sorry for the bad news, but Google is nowhere to be fixed. Don't confuse those SERPs weather websites when they saw a peak. It might be machine learning. Okay, that's how you do. You tweak machine learning, it's gonna go crazy. So the SERP weather thing is gonna have a peak, but it's just machine learning patterns. They throw away the data set and they tweak again and they start again. So don't confuse. Core updates are officially announced by Danny Sullivan on the Twitter account, on the Google blog. That's a core update. That's official. Be careful outside of core updates. Of course, you have manual penalties. Of course, you have algorithm penalties and so on. But yeah, bugs, and
bugs happen.
We won't kill them with a little shit. There's nothing you can do but light a candle and pray.
Yeah, physics and human beings. That's our two biggest problems.
It's very interesting, this topic of the size of the web and the way nobody has a clue. My friend who built Quant.com was like, people have no clue how big is the web. And first of all, how do you?
Because we really don't look.
It's humongous. It's humongous.
I can't imagine what Majestic and SEMrush and Ahrefs are doing with their link databases, because they have to crawl the web. They have to crawl a reasonable chunk of the web to find them and then double check they're still there.
They have to crawl Google. You know how complicated that is to crawl Google nowadays?
Yeah, well, especially because they throttle all your access and everything. Yeah.
Like, look, on a human level, if you do like 2 queries with an operator, you will get are you a robot or not? Like 2 or 3 operators. So yes, they're not using those operators to crawl the web, but still, it's very touchy to crawl Google, and the machinery behind those tools is, yeah,
Yeah.
a
Yeah, people
galaxy.
just don't think about it, but yeah, that's why Google's broken. It's not Google's fault. It's the fault of the spammers, that includes me,
At the
for releasing so much crap out there.
at the level of Google, there's a physical limit, like you said. The problem with Quant.com was the physical limit. We need more data centers. We need more computer power. Mojic in England, same thing. Those are the real like outsiders, alternatives, but they crawl the
Yeah.
web. DuckDuckGo doesn't crawl the web. It's
No, it
Google's
does not.
results. Okay, Mojic and Quant crawl the web. And even Apple, it's been 10 years since they tried to crawl the web. so
Yeah, think about it.
yeah, think about it. It's difficult. And if you're ever tempted to build a crawler, wow.
Yeah, it goes beyond what Screaming Frog is able to do for us.
The traps, it's endless. We won't go into, because otherwise it's a 4-hour podcast about all the traps that you can fall into to make a crawler.
Yeah. Again, also physics.
Well, physics. Well, no, that's just
Chips, data sets, the speed with which you can write data from one place to another place.
No, what I'm saying about be serious about SEO. Do it the right way. Instead of doing it like an add-on after the website is built,
make it core.
Take your hosting seriously, take your SEO seriously. Start with that. It's becoming, you could get away with a bad hosting company. You could get away with using SEO as an add-on after the fact. Now it's time to get serious. Remember that there's nothing better than SEO because of user intent.
Yeah, that's true. They're telling you what they want. And you might not want to hear what they want, but they're telling it to you.
Why
they're telling you exactly what they want.
Why are you whispering? Because I know why you are whispering. Because we didn't.
Because I'm pointing straight into the microphone.
We didn't do any
ASMR.
G-Spot SEO today. So you know what? Let's talk about something where we can G-Spot it.
We can talk about porn results.
Viagra can
results.
talk. Well,
I see that Viagra now has a trial sample pack of 2 pills.
We can talk about. Well, we can talk about this bad neighborhood. Does it really exist? You know, remember, like, don't get links from bad neighborhood.
Yeah.
Is it really different to do SEO for porn, casino, or for gardening tools? Yeah, good topic.
But bad neighborhoods is a good myth.
Yeah, we can go G-Spot SEO on that one, I think. Until next time.
Just because there's a hooker on the corner doesn't make it a bad neighborhood, kids.
No spoiler, please.
Until next time.
G-Spot is awaiting next week for you. It will be naughty. I will pump up Judith together on full on G-Spot SEO for you guys. So it was serious today.
And
sorry.
Girls. Guys and girls.
Guys and girls, yes. I do have a significant number of female viewers and listeners to girls. Thank you. I hope it's not just for my good looks.
Well, you never know. Maybe it's your accent.
Yes, if they're listening to the podcast, audio podcast, it's most definitely for the accent. Anyways, Judith, au revoir. And everybody else, thank you for watching. Until next week, please take care.
Bye bye.